G'day guys, Peter here from Oz Commercial Sewing Machines. Today's video is going to be on basic oiling and taking care of, in that manner, your H2 or H5 industrial sewing machine. You can also do this for your A-series machine, just to make it a little smoother and a little quieter if it starts making noises up the front end. So let's get started. I'm going to go underneath the machine and show you how to adjust the little valve that allows the oil into the hook area. So if you've got too much hook oil in the bobbin case, then you're going to have a little bit of splashed oil around. I'll show you how to adjust that, and then we'll take the front covers off and show you lubricating all of the internals. So let's get started. We've just tilted the machine back now, and we're looking at the main lubrication oil pump there, and you can see the screen. Okay, there's the vertical shaft with the helical gear, and there's the horizontal helical gear there. And now you can see all these oil pipes and things that get distributed throughout the head of the machine. Now this is the main oil pipe. It goes up into the top, and it's what comes from here that you can see splashing on the sight glass up there at the top of the machine. We'll have a look at that later. But what we've got here, this is the line that takes oil from the pump all the way through here, up underneath, and to lubricate the hook. Okay, so this is the hook. Now, if you're getting down in, hang on, I'll just lift up the camera here and show you briefly. But if you're getting oil splashing around in this area here, which is your hook area, if that's wet or it's got oil residue in there, generally means that you've got too much oil going to your hook. Now, to adjust that, there's this little screw here. Now, you can probably see that, but I'll pan in a little bit so we can get a closer look. Okay, that's fairly tight there. Now, as you can see, you may or may not be able to distinguish, that is a plus, that is a minus with directional arrows. This arrow says that the screw needs to go this way. The minus here, we're going to go minus to loosen the screw to be able to get more oil in there. And we're going to add to close the screw to get less oil into the hook. So if you do find that you're getting oil down in the front area with the hook rotation, you'll have to close this off, but just do it in small increments. Otherwise your hook will dry out and you'll start getting a lot of noise out of the hook area. They come from the factory fairly well set, so really, and when you pick them up, they should be adjusted anyway. That's part of the setup, just to make sure that you're not getting oil splashing around in that hook area. These, okay, we'll pan out again, but these wicks, these get dipped into the main sump, and they take the lubrication to the feed mechanisms. The front, the upper and lower, or the actual feed dogs, and the lift and rotate mechanisms, which is these two arms, top and bottom. Okay, so that's how that's all lubricated. You see this one here, it comes out and goes up into the actual feed dogs. We'll change angles a little bit so you can see up the front there. So you can see there that comes out, and then that goes into the actual feed mechanism there. That's the feed arm. Okay, so that's all the lubrication that you get is through that wick there for the feed arm. This one here is for the lifting mechanism. Okay, so this one, it makes your feed go forwards and backwards. This one here is your lift for the feed. Okay. For this part of the machine, we're going to need to remove this front cover. We're going to lubricate all of the needle bar and the rotational pieces inside here so that they smooth out a lot. So we're going to start by removing this cover plate. Now we have one screw up here, we have a screw down here, and we also have another screw on the other side just down here. Okay, there's 3 screws and that removes the front cover plate. We've got the front cover off now, and as you can see there's a few wicks snaking around in there that lubricate a lot of the moving parts, but there are still parts in there that we need to lubricate manually. Now we've got our bottle of sewing machine oil here with the long reach tip. Okay, and I've got a little bit of extra light here to help us to be able to see what we're doing here. Now if you have a look inside there, you can see there's an oil hole right there. Okay, we're going to put a drop of oil into that hole. Squeeze gently, there we go, there's one oil drop. Now we'll just also put a drop around either side of the screw there just to help it through. And you can also see that there's a hole down here, okay, right there. So even if we just let that run down the pipe like that, down that groove, and that's just filled up the oil hole. So that's the main arm that operates the connecting piece to the needle bar there. So that really needs a lot of good lubrication there regularly, as that's spinning at a great rate of knots. Let's see. Now we can also put a little bit of oil on the needle bar itself, just like that. And then if we come up to the top here, I'll just adjust the camera so you can see. Okay, there is a few holes here. Now this hole here is the needle bar hole. Now it has a wick inside it, which is kind of like a little sponge. Now we need to fill that sponge up so that the needle bar doesn't dry out. So I've put 5 drops in there, and it's just a coating of oil sitting on top. Okay. Now this one here, which is just behind, there's a little pan in there with the wick that goes all the way down through there to start. Now we're just going to put some oil in this pan and let the wick soak it up, and it'll gradually, with a lot of just a downward motion there of all the bits and pieces, that wick will absorb the oil that I've just put in there, and it'll travel down through the system. Now if it's really dry, you can artificially wet it just bit by bit, but don't want to go too heavy on it, or else you'll end up with wet patches. Okay, so I'm just going to put a couple of drops on each, or a drop, maybe 2, depending on how dry it is, and just let it soak through the system there. And there is also this hole and this hole. That is a rotating shaft. Now there is grease in this center hole. We don't want to do anything with that, but I'm going to put a drop down each of those holes there just to help that shaft. Okay, and pretty much what you're looking for is any movable parts that are metal on metal. So I'll drag you back a little bit. Now you can see this bottom one here. I wouldn't put oil in those 2 holes. This particular one is got grease around these points. So they've obviously greased this joint at the factory, so we don't want to put oil in there. But all these other parts, they're either linked by the wick and are getting oil from up in this reservoir from up here, or you're oiling manually. So what we're going to do now is we're just going to put a drop of oil up here on this connecting rod and let that go down in behind the bearing. Okay, and there's another one up the top here, but we need to rotate the shaft. Okay, so if we bring that down, you can now see that there's an oil hole back here. Hopefully I'm out of the way with that light, but nope. Okay, so that's better, but I'll give you a better view. Hang on a second. There we go. Okay, so this is the take-up arm, and we've lost view because of the this front tension. So what we'll do is bring you back around here a little. Okay, that now we can see. So there is your take-up arm, and you can see that there's a little oil hole just back here. We'll just fill that up. All right, so that's lubricated there. And you can also see down here, this is the slide rail to keep the needle bar in position. So we're just going to put a drop down either side, just to make sure that that's all in one piece. And we're just going to lubricate what that rolls on. Okay, so that's, I'm hoping you can see what I'm doing here. I'm trying not to get in the way, but pretty much anything that moves, you want to lubricate. Now I'm going to lubricate the presser bar as well. Just put a bit of oil down in through there. Now I'll take you around here so you can see what I just did. Now you can see just here, okay, I just lubricated, I just put a drop of oil down in through there, and that's going to, every time you actuate the knee lever, okay, that's going to force the oil down in through the presser bar to lubricate that bushing, okay. So it gives you a good look at also how everything operates in here, just moving things around and having a good look. You can learn quite a lot from going in the front here of how the machine is operating. Alright, so now we'll close up the machine and put the front cover on, and you're almost good to go. Before we move any further, I'll replace these rubber bungs that I've pulled out from the top. There's one here, there's one here, and there's one here. The needle bar one, it's got a little hole in the center of it, just like that. Okay, so that one is going to go back down into there. Now normally you wouldn't have to remove that, you'd just put the oil down in through that little hole in the top to soak out the wick there to keep the needle bar lubricated. And we've got this one here, which goes down into this hole here. It's a tight one. There we go. And there is one more, which is here, okay, and that just goes into there. Now you can see the end or a part of the wick down through there, but that is actually a screw hole. You don't want to touch that screw, so we'll just leave that one alone. So really you only need to remove this one, which is the oil pan for the wick, and this one, which is the needle bar. Okay, so this one here and this one here are the only caps that you really need to remove to manually oil the wick from here. and manually oil the needle bar from here. You do have to remove that front cover to go through all the manual oiling points as we discussed when we had it off. Now that we've got the machine all back together and we're ready to go, okay, now as I was saying earlier when I had the machine up and was talking about the main pipe from the pump that comes up into the body, this is the sight glass here. You can remove that if you want to. It is a tight screw-in fit, but we're not going to remove that because it's just too tight for me right now to do. And now I don't want to use tools on it either because it might break the plastic there, but there's no need to remove that anyway. When the sump's full and you put your foot flat on the pedal, you'll see oil splashing up against the top of this sight glass. Okay, I hope this video has helped and it gives you years of good life on your machine. Thank you for watching.